Unbelievable secrets revealed in the Gospel of Matthew, the hidden story of Jesus Christ. Few knew what truly happened that night in Bethlehem. The stars flickered like distant whispers, casting eerie shadows across the humble town. A child was born, but not just any child. This was the prophesied Messiah. The air crackled with a tension so thick, it was almost suffocating. Angels sang in the darkness, their voices mingling with the breath of cattle. Mary, young and scared, felt a strange warmth radiating from the tiny bundle cradled against her chest. This baby was different. He was destined for greatness. Shepherds, trembling with fear and awe, fell to their knees, their hearts racing as they witnessed a miracle. Some townsfolk dismissed the whispers of divine intervention as madness, yet others felt something stir deep within, as if they too were part of something vast and mysterious. But what actually unfolded in those early hours? Did the wise men truly follow a star, or was it something more? The sky hung heavy with secrets. Rumors churned like storm clouds in the minds of the people, tales of a king rising in a land of oppression. The tension was palpable. Those who witnessed the signs noticed miracles unnoticed by the rest. As the baby cried, the world held its breath. What did the heavens know that the earth didn't? Was peace finally at hand, or was this the beginning of another painful struggle? The importance of that night extended far beyond a mere birth. It was the dawning of hope, shrouded in mystery. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. In the quiet aftermath of that fateful night, the world slowly unfurled itself like a scroll bearing the weight of foreboding uncertainty. Beneath the deep velvety sky, where stars twinkled faintly, a low murmur circulated among the villages surrounding Bethlehem. The shepherds, arms trembling with reverence, spoke of their night filled with awe, the angels, the light, the miraculous child. Yet, others carried a different tale, steeped in skepticism and fear, warning of turmoil and vengeance. Among the hills, not far from the stable, an old priest named Zechariah wandered through his thoughts. He recalled prophecies he had devoted his life to studying, words woven in sacred texts that spoke of a coming Savior. Yet, he grappled with the uncertainty that crept into his heart. Would this infant herald peace, or would he birth unrest? The weight of expectation bore heavily upon him, questioning whether their meek attempts at faith would be sufficient to understand divine intentions. As the sun began to rise, casting soft rays upon the damp earth, the wise men traveled from the east. Guiding their camels beneath banners that swayed gently, they spoke among themselves of the star. Its brilliance had ignited a fire within them, a call to journey into the unknown. They shared stories of ancient prophecies, debating what this light before them might mean. Some felt it was but a celestial guide, while others believed it was a divine invitation extended toward their hearts. Meanwhile, the townsfolk, who had gathered to witness the unfamiliar splendor of this child, stared cautiously at the stable's entrance. An undercurrent of excitement mingled with disbelief rippled through the crowd. Did this vulnerable infant, cloaked in swaddling, possess the power to shatter chains and lift burdens? Or would he be swallowed by the very world he was meant to redeem? Mary, still overwhelmed by the miracle resting in her arms, could not escape the questions simmering in her mind. Who would come to see him? What would they say? And as thoughts tumbled through her mind like autumn leaves, a sense of purpose began to bloom. It seemed her journey was just beginning, and she was a simple participant in a grand tapestry beyond comprehension. As the wise men approached, their faces illuminated with longing and uncertainty, they brought gifts: gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Each offering told a story, echoing past sacrifices and future destinies. They presented them not as mere tributes, but as acknowledgments of the great mystery unfolding before them. An exchange took place, filled with reverence and anticipation, yet laced with an unspoken awareness that the true essence of this child encompassed more than anyone could grasp. As the sun rose higher, casting light on the promise of a new day, the question still lingered in the air. Would this child pave the way for a transformation that echoed through the ages, or would his story become another verse in the long history of disappointment? The hearts of many remained open, teetering between faith and doubt, yearning for more than the ordinary. What revelation would bloom from this birth? What shadows would chase away the light? As the sun crossed its peak and began its slow descent, the atmosphere in Bethlehem pulsed with both wonder and tension. Mary, cradling her child, felt the weight of the world rest gently upon her shoulders. The warmth of the infant against her breast seemed to pulse with life, yet the eyes of the onlookers, now gathered in greater numbers, reflected a myriad of emotions: hope, skepticism, reverence, and even fear. In a distant corner of the stable, Joseph stood, his heart battling the swell of protectiveness with the need to understand the enormity of their situation. His thoughts were a tumultuous sea, crashing against each other with the echoes of what had been foretold. How could he safeguard this infant destined to stir not just hearts but the very fabric of human history? As he glanced at the faces surrounding them, he noted the different responses. Some were enraptured, talking in hushed tones, while others gawked, their eyes betraying a mixture of disbelief and contempt. Suddenly, Zechariah stood before them, his aged hands trembling as if they contained the power of oracles. He approached tentatively, reverence woven into his every step. "I come bearing no gifts, yet I bring a prophecy to share," he declared, letting the gravity of his words settle. "Long have I awaited this moment. The child born in humble circumstance is not just a newborn but the fulfillment of promises written upon the tablets of time." The crowd turned, eyes wide and ears perked, drinking in the sacredness of the old priestess' declaration. Beneath the weight of uncertainty, a hopeful spark ignited. Zechariah continued, speaking of generations past, broken covenants, and divine whisperings that foretold a messianic figure, someone meant to surge through the ages, cleansing the world of spiritual aridity. Among the listeners was a woman named Anna, a prophetess of the temple, who had dedicated her waning years to fasting and prayer. She wove her way through the crowd, her hot breath forming into clouds as she whispered words of recognition. "This child," she said, pointing with a gnarled finger, "shall be a light for revelation to the Gentiles and glory to your people Israel." Her eyes glided over the faces of the surrounding townsfolk, recognizing both their thirst for redemption and their hesitance in belief. The gathering thickened with anticipation as murmurs spread like wildfire. Could this truly be the one? Their hearts quickened, merging faith with fear, and wonder with apprehension. Mary felt the love gathering like honey in her chest. This was not just her son, but a vessel of something profound. Yet in the periphery, the wise men paused, each reflecting on their own journey. They had traveled miles, guided by a star that they believed to be divine. But as they looked at the child, shadows of doubt crept in. Would their gifts befit this royal infant? Was their search at an end, or merely a threshold to deeper mysteries yet to be unveiled? As midnight approached, a hush settled over the stable. The brilliance of the stars seemed to intensify, illuminating every face and every heart yearning for truth. Within that sacred space, the first cries of the infant echoed, mingling with the seasoned wisdom of elders and the eager voices of those who dared to hope. But in that moment of joyous harmony, a quiet question lingered. In a world steeped in darkness, could a single life indeed bring light? What shadows, yet unseen, would arise in response to the promise held in that cradle? As the night deepened, stillness enveloped the stable like a warm blanket. The gentle cocoon of soft hay and the fragrance of livestock mixed with the unmistakable aroma of fresh promises. In those sacred hours, beneath a blanket of stars, hope and fear danced together, mirroring the flickering shadows cast by the dim light of the lanterns. Mary gazed down at her child, the serene face of Jesus catching glimmers of light as he adjusted in his sleep, unaware of the clamor around him. The weight of his destiny pulsed with every breath he took. In that moment, the bond of mother and child intertwined with the fabric of eternity, enriching her thoughts with whispers of angels and glances past. Nearby, Joseph stood at the edge of the gathering, his heart swelling with duality. The promises he had heard and the visions he had fought to understand now felt palpable in the warmth radiating from his family. Yet, as he observed the varied reactions, Joseph sensed a danger lurking in the very hope that brightened the faces of the assembled crowd. Was belief a pathway to light or a harbinger of division? In the flickering glow, a shadow moved forward, the flickering light revealing a figure cloaked in splendor, one of the wise men who had traveled from afar. His gaze was earnest, and his expression mirrored the weight of knowledge that transcended earthly understanding. Kneeling before the manger, he drew a weighted chest from beneath his cloak, revealing golden gifts, symbolic of adoration and kingship. In the quiet, he spoke, "This gold speaks of your child's royal lineage, it signifies that he shall reign, not in the manner kings of the earth rule, but with a sovereignty that transcends the realms we know." The crowd listened closely, shifting restlessly as the air thickened with both reverence and uncertainty. Another wise man, with a voice like gentle thunder, nodded in agreement. "And this frankincense, it symbolizes the divine nature of this child. Our traditions teach us that such offerings belong only to the divine, the very essence of worship." The murmurs grew softer, as the crowd pondered the implications of his words. Lastly, the third wise man revealed myrrh, its resinous aroma fragrant with the weight of suffering and sacrifice. This gift speaks of what is yet to come, a foretelling of the ultimate sacrifice he must embrace. For to become the Savior, one must fully experience the depths of human existence, including its pain. The thrumming of mixed emotions ascended, shifting between admiration and dread. What kind of king would require such sacrifice? What lives would intertwine with this child destined for both glory and suffering? As the wise men presented their gifts, the atmosphere sparkled with both awe and an unsettling uncertainty. Nearby, Anna watched closely, her heart a vessel of prophecy. Years of prayer and fasting resonated within her soul. With faith that had been tethered by trials, she approached the manger once more, her gnarled hand stretched toward the infant. "You shall be a sign that is spoken against," she declared, her voice etched with urgency, "and a sword will pierce through your mother's soul as well." As the words fell into silence, the faces of the onlookers absorbed the weight of such somber predictions. How could such palpable joy stand alone beside the shadow of sorrow? In this convergence of divine promise and impending trials, an unshakable question dawned within the hearts of many, unspoken but heavy: what path lies beyond this moment of clarity and chaos? In a world that thrives on division, could this child truly bring unity, or would he serve to reveal deeper divisions still hidden? As dawn crept upon the horizon, light began to seep through the cracks of the stable, illuminating the scene with an ethereal glow. Mary gathered her child close, the soft cooing of Jesus melting into the gentle morning sounds, the rustling of the hay, the distant call of roosters heralding the day's arrival, and the reverberating whispers of awe that danced in the air. Each sound was woven with marvel, yet underscored by an enigmatic discomfort that lingered on the edges of joy. Joseph remained rooted near the entrance, gazing out into the broader world that awaited his family. Outside, the field stretched into infinity, their undulating wheat gold beneath the sun's touch. Yet, within him, the stillness felt fragile, a mixture of sacred responsibility and the pulsing tide of impending conflict. What more will this day bring? He pondered, glancing back at the warmth of Mary and the child, who lay utterly unaware of the weight of their existence. As the crowds began to gather, stories rippled from town to town, drawing curious neighbors and astounded strangers. Among them was a young shepherd, his calloused hands trembling as he wiped sleep from his eyes. Having journeyed from a hill beyond Bethlehem, he could scarcely believe the tales that had reached him: angels singing, a child born in a stable, a gift that promised to change everything. When he caught sight of the child, a wave of emotion surged like the tides. He felt drawn closer, his heart racing as if the echo of the angelic chorus still resonated within him. "This is the one," he whispered under his breath, the reverence of the moment knitting small threads of hope in his soul. Of all the places for the Savior to appear, how can it be beneath this humble roof? Beside him, a merchant crossed his arms, carrying under his cloak skepticism that had hardened over years. A lowly birth among animals and hay. Power does not emerge from such beginnings. Are we to believe the ordinary can hide the extraordinary? His tone dripped with disbelief as he scanned the faces of those around him, searching for kindred spirits in doubt. Yet, as he spoke, the gaze of those nearby began to shift from the merchant to the infant, their eyes softening, veering toward the heart of something ineffable. There was resonance in their hearts, a longing that stirred deep within. Yet, one of the townsfolk interjected softly, "Is it not true that the greatest stories often emerge from the unseen? Could it be that what we seek is found not in prestige, but in simplicity?" As conversations blossomed, mingled with laughter and skepticism, Anna approached the stable again, her countenance lit with an indomitable spirit. Drawing close, she beheld the child with a clarity that transcended the physical. Her eyes captured the flicker of celestial truths buried within the fragility of humanity. "He will lead you through shadows, shepherd," she addressed the young shepherd, her voice steady. "He will shed light in paths obscured by doubt. Trust not the way the world sees greatness, for within this child beats the rhythm of a different kingdom." The young shepherd nodded, his heart swelling with resolve. A notion took root, that perhaps the turmoil would serve a purpose, one that stretched far beyond the horizon of human understanding, a reminder that not all battles are fought in the visible realm, and not all glories are witnessed in the grand displays of might. Amidst the fervent discussions, Joseph noticed the gathering tension amongst the crowd, some drawn in by hope, others standing at the precipice of disbelief and fear. As the sun fully illuminated the stable, casting away shadows yet revealing deeper contrasts in the heart of humanity, he sought to silence the rising murmur with a simple truth. "What you see here is but the beginning," he said, measuring his words with care. "A thread woven into a greater tapestry yet to be revealed." With those words lingering in the air, an unexpected hush fell over the assembled crowd. A question rippled through them: in a world marked by disparities, could they glimpse such unity in the presence of this child? And as joy and doubt intertwined, each heart pondered quietly, how deeply can faith stretch when faced with the reality of unfulfilled promises, the complexity of human experience, and the mysteries that lay ahead? As the sun reached its zenith, casting a warm embrace over Bethlehem, the atmosphere surrounding the stable thickened with an air of expectancy. The murmurs of the crowd ebbed into a stillness, as if each soul had suspended their own thoughts, drawn into the profound mystery that had unfolded before them. Eyes, once filled with skepticism and curiosity, now reflected an eagerness to understand what this child truly represented. Mary, cradling Jesus, sensed the weight of their gaze. It was not merely the burden of her role as a mother, but the realization that she held in her arms a destiny far greater than the confines of this humble shed. In that moment, something stirred within her spirit, a flicker of divine revelation. As though whispering to her through the soft breaths of her child, she pondered, will they see him as the light that pierces through their darkness? Joseph felt the shift in the air, the harmony emerging between the people's heartbeats and the little one's rhythmic breaths. It was as if a delicate communion was woven among them, a connection not easily articulable, yet palpably felt. He stepped closer to his family, determined to embrace this sacred moment fully. Even amid the cacophony of emotions, that a distinguished figure appeared amidst the onlookers, a magi from the east, clad in colors as rich as his knowledge. He had traveled long and far, following the celestial signs that promised the birth of a ruler who would change worlds, and now he stood with reverence. His eyes gazed beyond the child, searching the unseen, the essence of the mission that lay within the fragile body before him. "Where is the king whose star has led me here?" he asked, his voice gentle, yet assertive, creating an ethereal cadence amidst the crowd. "Is he not to reign in splendor, command the thunderous respect of nations? I see only this child and the humility surrounding him." Mary looked upon the King of the East, feeling an empathetic pull toward his confusion. "Perhaps, O wise traveler," she replied, "greatness finds expression in the simplest forms. What you perceive as weak may indeed be the strongest force we shall ever witness." The Magi contemplated her words as he knelt before the infant. In that quiet moment, where breath and wonder mingled in the air, the sounds of the world faded away. A quiet revelation struck him, a truth that centered on the paradox of divinity wrapped in humanity. "Is it possible," he whispered, "that this might be the path so long foretold, where power rises not through conquest, but through love?" With the presence of the Magi, a sense of urgency began to stir within the congregation. Each heart resonated with a question: is it right to shift their perspectives, to see strength woven through vulnerability? A nearby elder, adorned with the wisdom of many seasons, stepped forth. His voice, though frail, resonated with authority. In our longing for signs and wonders, let us not overlook the miracles in the mundane. This child, born of an ordinary woman and raised in adversity, carries the weight of our collective hopes. We must be vigilant, for it is often in the simplest garbs that divinity chooses to manifest. As the elder spoke, the crowd absorbed his words, grappling with the paradox they were called to embrace. Hope juxtaposed against their experiences of disappointment, faith shadowed by doubt. Each heard the silent invitation to lean in closer, to witness the extraordinary embedded in the fibers of their everyday lives. The young shepherd, unable to contain his excitement any longer, ventured forth into the throng, reaching out. But how will we know when the time comes? How will we recognize the arrival of what we yearn for? His voice echoed with the anxiety of many, expressing the crux of human longing amidst uncertainty. The child stirred in Mary's arms, the blue of his gaze seeming to illuminate the flickering lanterns within the hearts around him. In that very essence, said Joseph softly, it is the search that guides us. In seeking, we align ourselves with the divine, and therein lies the adventure. As the crowd took in the weight of this truth, it became clear that their journey had only just begun. Together, they stood at the confluence of mystery and revelation, each grappling with their own apprehensions as all awaited guidance. Thus, in a world adorned with questions and half-answered prayers, they pondered, can we embrace the unfolding of this story, where the ordinary transforms into the profound, and how much longer must we wait to see the mysteries direct our hearts toward love and unity? As the evening descended softly over Bethlehem, casting a golden hue upon the stable, the gathering of souls felt the weight of the moment deepening like the shadows that crept closer. The birth of the child had ignited a flicker of hope, yet uncertainty lingered like a passing breeze, hinting at challenges that lay ahead. The Magi, still kneeling reverently before the child, began to reflect upon the journey that brought them to this humble place. Each step had felt ordained, guided by the heavens, and what had once been a quest for a king now felt intertwined with an unexplainable yearning to understand the truth of the universe. Noble mother, he addressed Mary, your son's essence radiates a light that seems to beckon even those farthest removed from faith. But tell me, how will a child such as this navigate the tides of a world steeped in darkness? Mary's heart beat in rhythm with the fragile life she held, and she replied, this child will walk where others fear to tread, pulling back the curtains that obscure the heart's understanding. He will whisper the language of love to those who have only known despair. Joseph, drawn into the conversation, whispered, a love that disrupts the status quo, bringing comfort to the weary while provoking the proud. It is in that very tension where transformation begins. As the elders and shepherds pondered, a sudden shiver of unease rippled through the air. An unexpected visitor emerged from the periphery. A rugged figure approached, his brow furrowed with concern. Forgive my intrusion, he began, gesturing for silence. I come from Jerusalem, where whispers of this miraculous birth are met with suspicion. King Herod seeks to gather information, driven by fears of a rival. I fear his heart knows only the grip of jealousy. Gasps flitted through the crowd, mingling with the flickering of lantern light. The Magi stood up, the gravity of their mission thickening the air. We must tread carefully, one of them urged. Herod's ambition blinds him from seeing the truth. Within Mary, a deeper fear stirred. What did this mean for her child? Was the world not yet ready to embrace the gift they had received? What are we to do? She uttered, searching for clarity in the uncertain faces before her. The elder, sensing the rising tension, raised his hands as though to calm the storm brewing among them. We must anchor ourselves in belief, for fear is a swift current, often seeking to overwhelm. Let us not scatter like leaves in the wind. We shall not be governed by fear but guided by a divine promise. As if echoing the elder's wisdom, Jesus blinked softly in Mary's arms, his gaze meeting each heart yearning for stability amidst chaos. In that moment, it felt as if time held its breath, inviting reflection. Could it be that this child, a beacon in a time of distress, would unveil a truth that transcended power and fear? In hushed tones, the crowd began to discuss amongst themselves, wrestling with the implications of the news. They were called into action, to pivot from passive observers to active participants in this unfolding narrative. the young shepherd stepped forward once more, driven by an unyielding curiosity. May we honor this child with our actions? How can we offer our understanding and unite against the fears that threaten hope? The elder nodded, feeling the pulse of potential infusing the air. Let us be vigilant and united, seeking guidance from one another. In our love and resolve, we will stand against the tide of despair. It is our united spirit that can nurture this seed of hope. As the conversation continued, the palpable sense of community bolstered their spirits, yet questions remained suspended like stars in the night sky glimmering yet just out of reach. How would they, mere mortals caught in the web of circumstance, act in a world laden with uncertainties? What would it take to live out the profound truths they were beginning to unearth? With that lingering question, they ventured forward, ready to face both the beauty and complexity of the journey ahead. As the night deepened, whispering its secrets among the shadows, the assembled group found themselves entwined in a web of hope, apprehension, and divine purpose. Each heart hummed with unspoken fears and dreams, pulsating together like the silent heartbeat of the universe itself. Here, in the breathing stillness of the stable, the air thickened with anticipation of what lay ahead. Mary, cradling her child, felt the subtle shift of the celestial as if the very stars above were responding to the gravity of the moment. She gazed upon Jesus, sensing an overwhelming connection that drew forth her innermost fears and aspirations. He is as much a child of the world as he is of the heavens, she thought. But how can this brief life navigate the currents of human sorrow? The rugged figure who spoke of Herod lurked at the edges of her thoughts, casting shadows on her joy. What must we do to shield him? Mary asked Joseph softly, yet searchingly. Joseph, ever the anchor, placed a steadying hand on her shoulder. We will guard him with our love and faith. As long as we stand as one, nothing can dim the light his presence brings. In a distant corner, the shepherd who had voiced the desire to act now approached once more, emboldened by the resolve building around him. What if our journey does not only rest in protection but extends to action? Perhaps we each have our own gifts to offer, a piece of ourselves that can contribute to a greater whole. Inspired by his words, one of the Magi, whose wisdom was evident in his piercing gaze, pondered aloud. In our search for this child, we encountered signs that named him more than just a king. He embodies a promise, a transformation that cuts through the veil of despair. How can we bear this message beyond these walls? How do we fulfill the purpose that we have been drawn toward? The elder, sensing the rising energy, interjected, it begins in the smallest acts of kindness. Our hope is not merely a shield but a compass that guides us to those who need light where there is darkness. It is about the whispers of love, the subtle encouragements, and the quiet strength we offer each other. Even in uncertainty, we can create ripples of hope. As they spoke, a flicker of inspiration ignited within them, a collective awakening to their agency. The shepherds began to share how they could spread word of the miraculous event, to rally the people of Bethlehem and beyond. The Magi deliberated on the gifts they could offer, their treasures not just material but rooted in their knowledge of the sacred. Each voice joined the tapestry being woven in that sacred moment, a testament to resilience against the impending storm, yet amidst their fervor, an unease still lingered, like a low hum against their declarations. Their hearts wrestled with the weight of what was to come. Would Herod's jealousy endanger the innocent child placed in their care? Would the very love they shared become a target rather than a shield? As if sensing the turmoil, Mary lifted her gaze to the warm faces before her. In her deep well of love and wisdom, she assured them, it is through the very act of loving that we challenge the darkness. Each moment of compassion has the power to move mountains, to quell the tempest within and without. In this fragile yet fortified spirit, the group vowed to embody this love, to carve paths of hope into the fabric of their lives. But amidst this hope was a persistent question that lingered like an echo: if love is the answer, how can we ensure that our light shines brightly enough to pierce the shadows of fear that threaten to consume us? As they prepared to step forward into a world filled with ambiguity, they took a moment to breathe, reminding themselves of the importance of embracing both their uncertainties and aspirations. The question, woven into the night, offered only more mystery as they began their journey, a journey of courage, faith, and love intertwined with the destiny of a child born to illuminate the world. As the dawn crept into the stable, soft rays of light bathed the earth, heralding a new beginning. Mary, still cradling the infant Jesus, felt a stirring in the air, a sense that something miraculous was yet to be unveiled. The warmth of the sun seemed to wrap around them, casting away the shadows of the previous night, yet the echoes of their fears lingered like a distant song. The shepherds gathered closer, their hearts still alight with the fervor of their vows. "What will our words bear, and how shall we speak of this miracle?" one of them asked, his voice filled with both excitement and trepidation. "Will others believe what we say? Will they see the light we have witnessed?" "Faith," replied Joseph, his brow furrowed but resolute. "Faith calls us to share without the need for proof. It calls us to stand witness not only to what is seen but also to what is unseen." He looked to Mary and then to Jesus, who cooed lightly in his mother's arms. "We feel his presence, and that alone must be enough to fuel our journey." The Magi exchanged glances, their minds racing with the weight of the celestial signs that had compelled them from afar. One of them, his hands resting thoughtfully on the array of precious gifts, spoke of something deeper. "The stars looked back at us as we traveled, guiding us not just to this place but toward an understanding that transcends our earthly knowledge. Could it be that our gifts are not merely offerings of gold, frankincense, and myrrh, but symbols of a greater truth?" Mary's gaze, full of wonder, locked onto the Magi, igniting a flicker of insight. "What if each of your gifts represents a part of him? The gold for his kinship and kingship, the frankincense for his divine nature, and the myrrh, a sign of the human suffering he will share. Each gift points to a mystery we are yet to understand, laying the groundwork for his journey." As the gathered souls contemplated this newfound perspective, the shepherds envisioned the role they could play in sharing the story. "In our simple lives, we have witnessed the extraordinary," one of them stated. "We will sing his name on our fields, and perhaps their hearts will soften upon hearing our songs of wonder." The elder, drawn into the interplay of thoughts, offered, "Each act of revealing him to the world does not diminish his greatness, instead, it magnifies ours. As his love flows through us, we become vessels of hope. But we must remember, the path will not be free of trials." Concern clouded their faces again, shadows creeping along the bright promise of the morning. "What do we do when faced with fear or disbelief?" the shepherd reflected. "Will our voices echo in a world that refuses to hear?" A moment passed, filled with a weight that seemed to settle over them. Then, Mary spoke, her voice steady yet gentle. "This unanswered question is also a part of the journey. The act of stepping forward is in itself a leap of faith. We must allow ourselves to be both filled with hope and rooted in uncertainty. In that space, we find a mystery that can transform doubt into action, fear into love." In the silence that followed, the group sensed a shift, the air seemed to shimmer with a promise unspoken. They felt a conviction rising within them, a resolve that their actions, small yet significant, would not merely be reactions to fear but deliberate offerings of love to the world. Yet, the complexity of their mission remained, entangled with the inevitable confrontation with darkness. As they prepared to embark on their separate paths, a shared whisper threaded through the air, an unrefined but persistent question: "In the vastness of this mystery, how will we find the courage to confront our fears while illuminating the shadows that seek to overshadow our light?" With hearts entwined, they stepped into the dawn, knowing that their journey had only just begun, illuminated by the star of a promise that awaited its fullest revelation. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, casting radiant rays upon the sleepy town of Bethlehem, the sound of whispers gave way to a crescendo of faith, each heart beating in harmony with an anthem of hope. The humble stable, once a simple shelter, now pulsed with sacred energy, where miracles mingled freely with the tangible breath of life. Mary cradled the infant Jesus, enveloped by the warmth of those gathered shepherds, wise men, and townsfolk, all drawn together by an unquenchable thirst for meaning. The air buzzed with possibility. Yet, within that gathering, a prophetic weight began to lift, as if the very heavens leaned closer, urging those present to awaken fully to their calling. It was then that a voice, clear as a bell, rang out among them, a voice woven with the wisdom of the ages. Zechariah, the old priest, stepped to the forefront, his spirit alight with urgency. "Brothers and sisters," he called, his voice steady and echoing through the stable. "This child, this holy promise, shall not merely reside in our dreams, he is destined to awaken the world. And with this awakening comes a choice to embrace hope over fear, love over hate, unity over division." His words ignited a fire within the onlookers. Each face reflected a flicker of realization. They stood at a threshold, on the brink of joining a divine narrative woven through history, a tapestry initiated in a lowly stable, yet, shadows danced along the edges of this newfound light. A realization dawned upon the crowd, a truth so profound it trembled, instilling both excitement and trepidation. Will we bear witness to his journey? One timid voice quivered among the throng, asking what each dared not voice. Mary, sensing the winds of uncertainty, gently placed the child in the arms of a shepherd, whose hands trembled as though cradling the universe itself. "To witness is to take part in this miracle," she proclaimed, each word draped in conviction. "By nurturing this light in our souls, we carry it forth into the world." The shepherd, feeling the grace coursing through him, looked out upon the gathering, and inspired by Mary's encouragement, spoke boldly. "Then we shall join our voices, blending the melodies of our hearts into a song of hope, carrying the message of peace to all who will listen." And as they began to sing, a harmonization of voices rose into the heavens, transcending the ordinary. They sang not just of the infant born that night but of the awakening of seeds long sown in the soil of faith, watering them with every note. The air filled with a rich tapestry of sound, weaving joy and fear, wonder and purpose into a singular expression of love, echoing into the folds of eternity. Among the onlookers, the Magi who once sought signs in the stars found themselves dancing to the rhythm that now animated the crowd. Their gifts, once merely tokens of homage, transformed into symbols of commitment and purpose. "Together, we shall journey forth, sharing the light of this child with the nations," one of them declared, his face radiant with resolve. "May the essence of our gifts inspire hearts to awaken, for true kingship arrives not from thrones, but in love that illuminates even the darkest recesses." But just as the light of hope streamed forth, the whisper of doubt re-emerged, creeping into the hearts of many. "But what of Herod?" someone ventured quietly, eyes wide. "How do we confront the shadows of fear? Can love truly prevail against such darkness?" The elder, now gathered to speak once more, raised his hands, calling for calm as he peered into the depths of their hearts. "Darkness is not to be feared, but understood," he said, his voice thick with authority. "Light shines brightest in contrast. We must embrace that it is in our willingness to stand together against fear, against tyranny, that our candles will burn more fiercely." As these truths washed over the crowd, an electrifying energy filled the air. They could see themselves not just as passive witnesses to a miraculous birth but as participants in a cosmic story that beckoned them to emerge. Each heartbeat resonated with the urgency of divine love, igniting an enthusiasm that mounted into a crescendo of faith. Suddenly, a glowing figure emerged through the crowd, an angel, shimmering with divine radiance. The crowd gasped, falling silent as a familiar warmth enveloped them. "Do not be afraid," the angel proclaimed, the depth of its voice echoing like thunder tempered with love. "For, behold, the child you celebrate is not just salvation, he is transformation itself. His journey shall redefine power, embracing suffering, love, and unity as its greatest strengths." The gathered souls gazed in awe, feeling the ripples of revelation resonate through each one of them. "You shall find him not only in this stable but in every act of love and kindness you extend into the world. Let the light you receive from him guide your path, for each step you take in faith shall push back the darkness." And at that profound moment, an understanding transcended their doubts, a realization that power resides not in force or might, but in vulnerability, compassion, and a shared heartbeat. They were called, not just to believe, but to act as conduits of this sacred light. "That which we bring into the world," spoke Anna, her voice unwavering, "is our greatest offering. We will nurture hope among our neighbors, living bearers of this promise, igniting each heart with courage to embrace their own sacred journeys." With jubilant hearts, they began to embrace one another, pledging to support each other. In that sacred space, amidst the humble stable, they forged new bonds, friends and strangers intertwined by destiny, blossoming into a radiant constellation of hope. As they stepped into the bright Bethlehem day, fortified by love and shared purpose, conflicting shadows began to dissipate. Something extraordinary germinated within each soul, an echo of that night, a truth that would ripple across time and space, challenging despair and illuminating the world. In that moment, the miracle was not merely the child born in a manger but the unfolding realization, the collective awakening of humanity stitched together by love, the deep-rooted conviction that hope, born of faith, could indeed transform the world. With hearts set alight, they ventured forth, scattering into the realm beyond. The stable, each step a declaration, each smile a beacon of light. For the first time, they grasped with fervor the message that would reverberate through generations: true salvation arises not in isolation but in communion, a daring expedition ignited by the simplest gestures, captured in the embrace and the whisper of love. As they departed, laughter mingled with hymns of hope, weaving through the tapestry of life a testament to love's enduring power, echoing through the corridors of eternity, destined to inspire countless souls long after the last candle flickered out. And though uncertainty loomed in the distance, it paled in light against the rich promise of what was yet to be revealed through a child that heralded not merely an era of hope, but an awakening of the human spirit toward infinite possibilities.